people go to the doctor as women for either diet, sex, or hormones, right? That's us, right? That's what we go to the doctor for. And I didn't have really good tools to offer around how to lose weight or how to stay healthy in regards to lowering inflammation and getting your cholesterol down. We don't have great lifestyle tools a lot of times as doctors. So while I was in my office passionately trying my best, this is what was happening in our country. I'm just going to quickly go through and just show you the more blue or the more dark these pictures become, the more our country was going overweight or obese. So if we fast forward up to about 2007 there, you see Colorado was the last state that had less than 20% of its population in the obese range. And we have now moved past that. 4 years ago, all of our states have more than a third of their population in the obese category. And that's not a surprise. I don't think I'm saying anything that's either rocket science or new to any one of us in the room. But why is that a big issue? Would all of you agree that we have a health crisis in this country? I mean, does everybody feel that? We've all experienced it to some degree, maybe ourselves or in our families, right? So when you look at this and you say, okay, what's going on? I'm going to refer you back. Some of you are familiar with this picture. That this is the typical pattern that leads to this. Okay? So in America, day in and day out, and I will tell you, I am a very well-trained doctor who came through a school that excels in nutrition. Our motto at my medical school is to make man whole. We're not just about fixing the physical body. We're about mind, body, spirit. But I came through and I was walking around in my office day in and day out. And by 10 or 11 in the morning, I was not a nice person, and I felt like CRAP. I felt horrible, and I would be jetting between patient rooms, and I've got to find some chocolate. And I would get to the lounge, right, and I would find a piece of chocolate or a piece of toast or something to put in my mouth, and then I'd get through and eat some lunch maybe around 1. And I'd hit the same feeling terrible at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And when Whitney said, Dr. Brossfield, have you ever tried Take Shape for Life yourself? Because I had started, after a lot of research, recommending it to patients. I said, no, I don't have a weight loss problem. And she said, well, maybe try it, even for 5 days. Learn what it feels like to go into fat burning so you can talk with that authority to your patients. When I did that, I went from this pattern where I had been leaving the house with a glass of coffee, or with a cup of coffee with all my nice creamer in my coffee, had hit the coffee or the chocolate mid-morning instead of a bagel right here, and then had my lunch. I had been doing this kind of pattern in my blood sugar every day and just not realizing it. And I had probably been suffering from hypoglycemia and really bad grouchiness when you're hypoglycemic. My husband now brings me food when I'm hypoglycemic. But yeah, it's true, unfortunately. Thankfully, we have a tool now. But this pattern not only is what was affecting me, but it's also what's affecting so many of us in America. Even people who use very well-renowned weight loss programs, you can still make your blood sugar spike and drop. And spiking and dropping of blood sugar is what I have now become kind of famous for in the desert about speaking on, because this is the cause of Alzheimer's. This is called type 3 diabetes. This is the cause of so many of our disease states. And if you look at the pattern of blood sugar spiking and dropping, that causes inflammation because of the chronically elevated insulin level. So we now know that that pattern of how we eat as Americans causes inflammation, which is the root cause of all of this disease states. So we have an answer. I'm excited to get to the answer part, but there's a big problem, but we have something that can turn this around. So when we look at the path that we've been on as a country and the poor eating habits and the inflammation that we're causing simply by our nutritional patterns in this country, we know that the typical scenario is that we start out optimally healthy when we're born, but that sometime, maybe even as early as now, 6 and 7, children are being diagnosed with diabetes. Most of us, luckily, probably got in our 40s, maybe 30s, Greg, for you, before some health issues really started to catch up with you. But as we get to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and we start to just be not sick and then sick with diagnoses, that is not the path to optimal health. That is a path that our country, unfortunately, that's taking us into the healthcare crisis that we have now. So the option would be, what if we had a different way to pursue optimal health and create that in our lives so that we stayed optimally healthy for as long as possible and went sliding in on a banana peel when we're 120, but for most of our lives had stayed in a range where we were really thriving. If you could have that kind of health, would you choose it? How many of you would say yes? And I ask that not lightly. I used to ask that and think, what a stupid question. Of course everybody's going to say yes. That's just this rhetorical thing. What I've come to know is that we might say yes, but do we mean yes? And are we willing to put ourselves to the task that it takes to have optimal health? Because if you want to change everything, what do you have to change?
Everything.
Everything, right? If you want something new, you can't do what you've been doing. You get to have completely new patterns to have new results. When we talk about optimal health, I just want to notice that it might be different between each one of us. It might be different for you than it is for me. So if you think for just a moment, and I want you to do this exercise with me if you would, if you think of your health on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you were at a 1, it would mean you really had fairly minimal health in that area. So for a minute, let's take each of these areas and think about it. If you think about your mind right now and you ranked your own mental health, your own stress, your own satisfaction, whether you feel happy and fulfilled, whether you have time for the things that are important for you, do you feel like you're leaving a legacy in your life? Give yourself a score on a 0 to 10, 10 being the best ever, and 0 being, gosh, I'm not even alive. For your mental health, give yourself a little score for mental health. Just think of that number. Then let's do the same thing for finances. You've got great cash flow, real estate investments, children's college is paid for, your retirement set up, or you are able to function without worrying paycheck to paycheck. Give yourself a ranking in your own mind. 0 to 10, 10 being everything's well taken care of, you're completely at ease, versus 0, gosh, I don't even have a penny to go put some gas in the car. And then when we think of our body, same thing, 0, we're really unhealthy, 10, you're in excellent health. And you know that your body can do anything you ask of it that you would want to do, that you feel you wake up with energy, you wake up and you're happy to be alive. Just a trick, I wake up and on the mornings where I'm like, oh my gosh, the alarm clock went off and I'm not ready. I lay in bed and I go like this. And the reason I do that is that it's been shown that if you crinkle your mouth, in fact, if you just put a pencil in your mouth, like that, just moving your cheeks up makes you secrete endorphins in your brain just like you were smiling or laughing. So you can start your day out, even when you don't feel like it, to get in the groove. But ideally, if you're eating well and getting enough sleep and enough water and exercise, your body's going to feel that way even without my little trick moving up your corners of your mouth in the morning. So give yourself a score. So when you think about that, what stands in between you? Like, I'll tell you right now, I've been struggling with sleep. I'm really not getting enough sleep currently. And when I look at my score, I would probably give myself about a 7 because of that. And so when I look at what's standing between my 7 and a 10, I know I could go and list a few things. I know what they are. So what's standing between you and optimal health? What do you need to do that would make a difference? And within Take Shape for Life, we use a system where we look at where are we now and where do we want to go? And then we make choices for that in-between zone. And that's what I'm suggesting to you. You're going to have the power to leave today making new choices to have new outcomes. Take Shape for Life really is a partner. We are your partner in creating health because you are the only person who can do it, right? As a doctor, I can write prescriptions all day long, but if you don't go home and put them in your mouth, they're kind of ineffective. And the same thing would be true with any choices you want to make around your lifestyle. So Take Shape for Life is a system that includes health coaches. We are physician-led. Dr. Anderson is the original physician who developed this program and who teaches and leads and asks all of us to partner with him. But Dr. Anderson's program really leads to lifestyle education. So we are focused as a company on training people and teaching people to create health in their lives. And what's amazing to me is that we do it experientially. Greg knows how to do this because he was a client himself when he lost his weight 11 years ago, 12 years ago. So when we look at our system, what we're trying to do is provide provide something that gives you all the nurture and arms around you to support you to make success really come true in your life. So we have a system that has 3 parts, and I'm going to go through those briefly. We begin building a healthy lifestyle. Every new habit we ask you to start putting into place in your life is a habit for a lifetime of health. So when we say it's going to be really healthy for you to eat every 3 hours to stabilize blood sugar, that's a habit forever. It's what I'm teaching my children. When we say, let's drink water, and we go through how much water should you drink daily, that's a habit for your lifetime. So we are starting to learn habits and develop a healthy lifestyle because the goal is not just that you get to some number on the scale. That's a great goal. It's a good starting point. But if you had that number on the scale and everything else was in shambles in your life, would you have what you wanted? We are about you having what you want in the totality of your life, and so we're wanting to create health as our #1 goal. Dr. Anderson's system, using the curriculum, the habits of health, the videos that go with it, and his newest book, Discover Your Optimal Health. If you need the down and dirty cliff notes, that's a great way to get through the beginnings of that book in an easy, fast way. That system has the groundwork to help you develop those habits and put them into place for life, and it becomes a great reference point that you can always refer back to for healthy habits. You also, within Take Shape for Life, have your own personal health coach. And how many of you think that you would have succeeded without a health coach? Does anybody feel like that would have been harder to do? It would have been a lot harder. I'm sorry, I just asked the question 2 ways that you can answer. You can't answer my question because it would have been wrong either way. No, I think the health coach piece of this, I will tell you, has been what I see over and over, making a pivotal change for people and staying on track and continuing to stay on track even 10 and 12 years in the future. When we work with people to reach a healthy weight, most of the time we use a program we call the 5-in-1. There are many other programs depending on people's needs. So if we have a mom who's nursing her baby, we have a program that's for that mom. If we have someone with gout, we have a program for that person. If we have a diabetic, we have a program for that. So we have ways to customize this, but most people use a program where we have 5 MetaFast meals a day and 1 Lean and Green. And MetaFast is a corporation that we work with. We are their largest coaching subsidiary, and we use those products because they are made in America, they are high-quality protein, and every product you pull out of your package of food is identical in its nutritional footprint. Every product has about 15 grams of carbohydrate, about 11 grams of protein, and 4 of fiber. So that when you space that out through your day and every 3 hours, you have perfect blood sugar control. So when we look at using the 5-in-1 program and then teaching you the Lean and Green protein, the Lean and Green meal, I think of the Lean and Green meal like training wheels. It's the one meal a day that you're responsible to make out of the grocery store in your own kitchen or eat out. And it gives you a place to start practicing good choices in how you put foods together to keep your blood sugar steady, and we teach you how to do that. We know that we ask people to eat every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day because that helps them stay full. It helps them also basically keep blood sugar really steady. The other great strength of this program is it preserves muscle because of the protein and frequent eating. And so people don't lose muscle, they lose fat. And usually what we see, and this is what our company says officially, we lose 2 to 5 pounds a week in each of the first 2 weeks. We've all seen results that were a lot different than that, a lot more than that. But what we know we can say is very, very typical is to lose 2 to 5 pounds every week for the first 2 weeks, and then in the subsequent weeks, we know that people continue to lose about 2 pounds a week. This is the pattern of blood sugar that we're trying to stay at and get to. This is our goal. Rather than the spikes and the drops, this is the answer to the healthcare crisis, is this slide right there. This is kind of my favorite slide of Dr. Anderson's because to me this is how our country could be healthy. You're going to have a choice when you leave here today. You're going to have a choice of what you eat for lunch. You're going to have a choice of what you do this afternoon. We're going to be faced with choices all day long. And I just want to say, notice if you keep doing what you're doing, where are you going to be in a year? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Are you going to be where you want to be in your life? And if you are on track, then